You're watching The Vat.
Welcome to Golden Years. I'm Lori Betts. This month, my guest is Dr. Matt Gabeline, our local dentist, and he's going to give us an update on what is happening in the world of teeth.
There's a new calendar in town at medinacountylife.com. If you're 55 years of age or better, you can check it out to learn about events happening all over Medina County. Again, it's at www.medinacountylife.com. This calendar is sponsored by Medina County Family First Council.
Welcome back. I'm Lori with Golden Years, and my guest is Dr. Matt Gabeline, local dentist and good friend. And Dr. Matt is going to tell us what's happening in the teeth world, why we lose teeth, why do we have issues, and if there's some answers to help us out. A good friend of mine said that we should get the third pair of teeth. We have the baby teeth, then we have the new teeth. So when we get like 50, 60, why can't we have new teeth?
That's an awesome question. And the reason being is we can actually get a third set of teeth now, believe it or not. They're not our natural teeth, but they are very good substitutes for natural teeth.
Why do some people have issues more so than the other with the teeth?
There are a lot of different reasons that people do lose their teeth. Mostly nowadays people are losing their teeth, especially in the senior years, due to gum disease. Gum disease is very rampant, and it dissolves the bone away, it removes the gum from the teeth, and the teeth get loose. And then when the teeth get loose, they can't be chewing anymore, and so we do lose them. We also lose them to different things like cavities that were filled and put big silver fillings in typically, and then the silver fillings can allow the teeth to split and break. And then a lot of times those teeth get crowns and maybe root canals. And over time, that really takes a toll on the teeth, and so they can come out or not be repairable anymore.
When did you decide you wanted to go into dentistry?
Well, that's an interesting question. There's a long story, but when I was in high school, I was having problems seeing the chalkboard. At the time, they had chalkboards.
Way back.
And so my history professor told my parents that I should go to the eye doctor and have my eyes checked. So I went to the eye doctor, had my eyes checked, and sure enough, I needed glasses, and I still wear my glasses today. And from then on, I thought that would be something I would really like to do for other people. But by the time I got to college, my college professor said, well, it sounds like I was interested in health and eyes are a part of that, but he said you probably ought to take a look at all the other professions. Look at the physician, look at the veterinarian, and see if there's something that really suits you. So he told me to go and make appointments with these guys and gals and hang out with them for a day and see what they do. So I ended up doing that. And the last person I ever wanted to see was the dentist, because I had quite a few fillings myself and didn't have any good experience at the dentist office, so I didn't want to go there.
Does anyone have a good experience at the dentist?
All my patients do.
Yeah, of course. Oh, yes, of course.
So I was actually talked into going to the dentist office and observing by my brother. And I ended up going to a dentist, not my own, and observing, and I found it actually very interesting because it had the health field part of it. It also had a lot to do with sculpting and artistic qualities, which I really enjoyed. And I always liked taking things apart and putting things together as I was younger, and so there's a ton of tools in dentistry. And so we have lots and lots of tools. For every different procedure, we have lots of different tools. So that was very suiting to me, which I didn't know from being a patient.
You're on the other side of it.
Now I'm on the other side, playing with all my tools and sculpting.
And you're so young. You've been in practice how many years?
20 years already, yes, yes.
Wow. And there's many, many changes. And from, if you could remember back 20 years, what was the big thing then?
The big thing 20 years ago was, do we start using these white fillings called composites? And that was a huge thing when I got out of school. There was a lot of controversy. Should we keep using the silver and gold fillings, or should we move on to these new materials? And so material science has just exploded since I graduated from school. I mean, there's nothing that I do today is what I was taught in school. That's how much dentistry has changed.
That is amazing. Well,
Yes.
technology, everything just changes.
Incredibly so.
And the white fillings look so much better.
Everybody wants white fillings.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because if you look on TV, you see all these people with beautiful, beautiful teeth, and you're like, wow. I mean, are they going to the dentist like monthly to get all these repairs done, or they just have good teeth?
Well, a lot of people have good teeth because a lot of the technology has changed that people can keep their own teeth and straighten them and make them look beautiful. And even if there's minor imperfections, our bonding agents, the white filling materials, we can patch teeth up and make them look just beautiful. You can't even tell, you know, there's fillings. And then you can do crowns and veneers also. So white is in, that's for sure. And now we whiten teeth, so we do a lot of that also.
That is interesting. Okay, so Mr. Jones comes into your office. His teeth are horrible. So how are you gonna, what suggestions are you gonna give to him? Like you evaluate him and you give him different options, like what way we can do. You got the implants, which we're gonna talk about.
Mm-hmm.
What if they really don't have a lot of rainy day money?
There's a couple different ways to handle that. One is you can do a lot of more of the traditional type of dentistry. So if you have someone that they have to lose all of their teeth or some of their teeth, maybe you can repair some. Maybe they're not and they all have to come out. We know today that diseased teeth affect the person's overall health. Gum disease and gum infections, tooth infections, we know are related to heart attack and stroke, diabetes, low birth weight babies, things like that. So we have to really look at the patient as a whole and say it's not just the teeth we're looking at, but we want to get rid of those infections. So that's where we want to start. So we evaluate, and if we can keep some of the teeth, then we can go to some removable partial type of tooth replacements. Removable partials, I've got a little model here. Is the pink and the white here is the partial, and then the yellow is the patient's teeth. This type of partial is not like grandma's partial. It doesn't have any silver clasps on it. It is a flexible type of a partial, so it can actually bend and move. This patient's missing all of their back teeth, so we were able to keep their front teeth.
The plastic has to feel better in the mouth.
It does. It's a lot thinner than acrylic, so it's less invasive. Patients get used to it much easier than the thicker type of partial with the metal clasps. And it looks better too because the clasps on this are pink, and we can also make white clasps, tooth-colored clasps. And the teeth could be in the front or the teeth could be in the back. So that would be one option for Mr. Jones if we could keep some of the teeth. Mm-hmm. Okay, so the fillings might need fillings in the front or some other crowns or something like that, but then we can replace the back teeth with something that comes in and comes out, something removable. And that is the upper arch. If Mr. Jones is going to end up needing to have all his teeth removed, this is a top denture. A top denture covers the whole roof of the mouth, which is a little more cumbersome. So if you have some teeth that you can hook the partial on, the teeth can actually be less cumbersome, not as thick, not covering the whole roof of the mouth. Anytime you cover the roof of the mouth, you're going to have some issues with speaking, and it's going to be an adjustment. Also with swallowing, because the whole roof of the mouth is now covered with plastic or acrylic. And then you'll also have just getting used to all of this extra hardware and plastic and thickness in the lips, in the cheeks, and for the tongue, which rests against it. If the patient does need to go to a full denture, there's a couple different ways of going to a full denture. The old-fashioned way was you take the teeth out and you let the patient rest for a couple of months without any teeth. And what happens in that couple of months is the bone changes considerably. The bone shrinks up and is gone. And the way I like to describe that to patients is if we have a tree planted in the topsoil, the tree roots hold that topsoil there. And under the topsoil is the clay layer. So when you remove the tree, the topsoil washes away because the roots are gone, and you wash down to the clay. Well, that happens with the tooth. The tooth has tooth bone around it. So if you have a root of a tooth and the tooth bone is sitting or holding the tooth in, what ends up happening, you remove that tooth, the tooth bone melts away within 6 months, and you're down then to skull bone. So there's two different types of bone. So as tall as the tooth is, that's how high the topsoil layer is. And when that topsoil layer goes away, then you're down to a more stable, slower eroding type of a bone. That type of bone is not used to having a denture banging on it. The tooth bone was designed for that. Yeah. So that skull bone also changes over time. So I have an interesting little picture that kind of shows what happens with the tooth bone and when it goes away and what ends up happening to the actual lower jawbone. So here's a jawbone with teeth in it. You can see how tall the jawbone is, and the teeth go about to here. When you take the teeth out, within a couple of months, you can see that tooth bone disappears and you're down then to skull bone. The skull bone then, with the denture riding on it and hammering on it, slowly but surely gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And so there's not very much left at the end. Sometimes these get so thin that the grandparents can be holding their grandchild on their lap, and the kid, we've all had this happen, the kid goes back like this and pops you in the chin. And patients have actually fractured their jawbone because it's so thin in these teeth or jawbones without any teeth in them.
And no two-person's mouth is probably the same.
Nobody's is the same. Nobody is the same. That's good and bad, I guess.
Really, yeah. And I'm sure when you go into people's mouths, because you've been in mine, even if you think personally that you have the worst mouth, I mean, you probably don't think twice about it because you're there to take care of the patient.
Right.
You're there to help them, and you're there to make them have a pretty smile again.
Right, right. We never look at any patient and say, oh my gosh, what did this patient do to their mouth? Yeah. Because a lot of times it's not their fault. Yeah. It is not. It's circumstances, it's disease, it's the way that their body handles infections. And so we know everybody is different, and they can end up with needing a lot of dental work or replacement dental work very, very quickly.
What was your youngest patient?
My youngest patient, well, all my children, you know, when they were born, I look in their mouth.
Of course, of course.
The dentist typically was the forefront of checking for cleft lip and cleft palate. But now the physicians, they check those kids in the hospital so many times. So after you had your baby, you used to take them to the dentist, and then they would check for those type of things. Obvious cleft lip and cleft palate would be showing real quickly. There's cleft lip and cleft palate that you can't see, that you could have to feel. So probably a couple hours old is my youngest patient would be my own children. But nowadays, the physicians are taught, and they check and double check and triple check those things. So we typically don't see the babies anymore.
All right, Matt, we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to hear about implants.
Very good.
New technology.
Excellent.
So come on back, and Dr. Matt will explain something new.
Excuse me. Excuse me, are you Santa Claus? I heard you might be him. If you are him, here's my list.
Help the Marines make Christmas possible for less fortunate children. Donate a new toy to Toys for Tots.
Here's Santa Claus.
Hey, Mom. I got the job.
You've got the job. Welcome aboard.
I've got a job to do today.
Have a good first day at work, Mom.
Donate to Goodwill. Help provide job training in your community.
Hi, welcome back. I'm Lori from Golden Years, and I'm interviewing Dr. Matt Gabeline, our local dentist, and he is going to be talking about implants right now. So stay and listen. Okay, Dr. Matt, tell us what's new in the dental world.
All right, well, one of the wonderful innovations in dentistry, and it's been around for just about 50 years now, are implants. So it's not new, but it is becoming popular, more to the forefront, very predictable, very predictable, are dental implants. And basically what dental implants are is a replacement for the root of the tooth. And we can use that replacement to anchor one single tooth, bridges, dentures, partials, or just whole arch bridges. What a dental implant is it replaces the tooth. So on this side of the diagram, you can see there's a natural tooth, there's a root, and then the top of the tooth, which is called the crown. On the other side is the implant, which is a titanium root replacement, and then on the other side, an artificial crown. Many people have crowns on their teeth, and that's the same type of crown that goes onto the implant. So that's what we use for many treatments, from one tooth to all the teeth to replace.
So a person could come in and do the whole mouth with implants?
Yes, it actually can do a total replacement. Basically, when you start from going to a complete denture, you can back off from a complete denture and get teeth that are more like your own teeth by using implants. So if you have an upper arch that we have to lose all the teeth, let's go back to Mr. Jones. Nowadays what we can do is we can actually have Mr. Jones come in one day, take the teeth out, put in 4 dental implants, and then on the same day put a set of teeth onto those implants. That is called an all-on-4 type of a denture, or you could upgrade that to a bridge. The denture itself is made of acrylic and has a titanium framework in it. So it's like a denture, but it's shaped more like an arch and looks kind of like this. This would be a great example of that. This is a patient model with 4 implants and a denture that is acrylic teeth, pink acrylic, and that screws on the day that the implants are placed.
Isn't the mouth in like a lot of pain?
You know what? It is absolutely amazing. My patients that have this done, every one of them that I call back the next day, they say, it doesn't hurt. And I expected it to hurt.
Wow.
There's a couple reasons for that. One reason is the bone itself actually has no nerve receptors in it. So the bone itself cannot feel the pain. What can feel the pain is the gum. The gum has nerve receptors in it. So what the patient feels after the implants are placed is actually the gum that has to heal. Now, we always give patients lots of medication, so if they need it, they can use it. But I don't think any of my patients have ever used it. They use Tylenol and Advil,
Wow.
and that's it. And that blows my mind. So now when I call my patients the day after, I expect to hear them say, Matt, I don't feel any pain. So it's absolutely wonderful, and it's amazing. The reason that we can put 4 implants on and hold a whole bridge on there is interesting. We used to have to put the implants in and let that heal on the top 4 to 6 months, on the bottom about 4 months. And what we found is if we put 4 implants in and angulate the implants in the back, it gives us nice stability. And the way I like to describe to patients how this works is if anyone's ever dug a hole and put a fence pole in that hole without filling the dirt in, that fence pole is wobbly.
Wobbly.
And then you dig the next one and you put a fence pole in there, and that one's wobbly. Well, you take 2 of those fence poles and you put 1 crossbar across there, and all of a sudden now it doesn't quite move as much. Put another crossbar and now it can't even do this. Do 2 more and connect those, and now the whole thing's pretty stable. And then in the tooth position, we put it on an arc. So if you took those holes and you put them in an arc like that and connected them all together, that thing is pretty solid, because now it has 4 legs and it's in an arc. So that's what we're doing with these all-on-4 type cases, is we're actually spreading the force out, we're splinting the implants together so the patient can go the day that we put the implants in out of the office with a set of teeth in. Wow. Now, Lori, this is a great example of before and after picture of someone who's had an all-on-4 denture. They come in and they look like this, and when they leave that day, they look like that. There's some things that we did to this patient that you can really look at. The length of the teeth is now appropriate, where here was very worn, and now it looks really nice and fits with the face. So that's something that we always look at, is where the teeth belong in the patient's face.
It's a miracle.
It is a miracle. There's 2 different options to actually put on for the teeth. One is regular denture teeth that is on regular denture acrylic with a titanium framework inside. So you can feel how that one is.
This is very light.
Very light, and you can hardly know it. The other option is a material called zirconia. And zirconia is the cutting-edge material in dentistry. It's very hard, it's very dense. It doesn't stain, it doesn't chip. There's no acrylic allergies. So you can feel what that one feels like.
Heavier.
Very heavy, very dense. You can tap that one on the table and you can hear the difference. It's solid. It's solid. Where that's very light and plastic.
Woo! Almost broke them.
No, they won't break. The problems that we encounter with the acrylic ones, because they are denture teeth, sometimes the teeth chip, the teeth wear excessively. The teeth can come out. Now, the nice thing about either of those options is that you can actually unscrew this and send it to the lab and put a tooth back in or repair it or replace it. But we don't have those problems with the zirconia material because it is so durable.
So do you let the patient decide?
Let the patient decide, and obviously the newer material, because it is a high-tech material and takes a lot of care in building it, it is more expensive. Mm-hmm. And so it is, there's about a $3,000 to $4,000 difference between this type of a restoration and that one. We expect that one to last a lifetime. A denture, typically you replace every 7 years.
Ah, okay. Would this be hard though? I mean, as heavy as this is, do you feel it in your mouth? Or?
I haven't had any patient complain yet. But because of the quality, they can just feel that it's nice and crisp. The bite is real crisp because...
Better bite.
Yeah, and you can feel the bite more. Like this, because it's very soft, the patients can't really feel where the teeth are, whereas that, because when you're tapping up against the other teeth, you get a sense of where things are at. The patients can tell, oh, you know, I've got a poppy seed here. You know, they almost grow a sense of where everything's at. Where this, because it's so dull, they don't quite have that acuity of sense.
So a patient has to feel wonderful if they could walk in the morning looking one way, and then you're walking out hours later another way, and you have the smile.
Yeah. That is life-changing for
Oh,
patients.
I would say definitely.
And that's the moment I like, when we set them up and they can look in the mirror. They're usually still numb, so they feel a little funny, but they look in the mirror and we see a lot of tears.
Oh, I'm sure. I am sure. All right, so what else do you want to share with the patients?
What else do we have? Patients who already have, let's talk about the all-on-4 we talked about already. The all-on-4 is when you have no other choice, the teeth are gone. Patients that have dentures can go to all-on-4s. My surgeon typically can find some bone. There are some reasons why you would not be able to go to it if you're absolutely no bone left. And then sometimes you can go to some other options. A lot of those other options are typically like little teeny mini implants. And we like, on these type of cases, to have implants that are of fairly good size because you're supporting the whole biting arch on 4 implants. And you can go to 6 or 8 or 10 implants actually, but with the all-on-4, because the 2 implants are angled off the back, we really get a nice stability, immediate stability. So this, I think, is the way of the future. 4 implants with a set of teeth on top of it. For patients that can't go to all-on-4s or don't want to go to that expense, if you already have an existing denture, we can a lot of times put just 2 implants on the bottom with a little attachment. In the existing denture, you would have some attachments that would snap onto here, onto the attachments that are on the implants, and that snaps in and it stays put. This type of thing gets rid of the gooey adhesive that patients are wearing because it now snaps on. It's not totally supported by the implants. The implants are just giving it some grab so it stays down. And lower dentures are miserable for that because the tongue lives in here. And the lower tongue moves around and it rocks the denture and tips it over and gets food underneath it, and they're just miserable replacements for teeth. Most patients will do better with an upper, and a lower is just not a good solution. I've made a lot of dentures in my career, and I don't think I've ever made a good lower because you're asking this little ridge to hold on to this thing while the muscle's pushing it around. And so it's just a tough option. It's a tough option. So if with a couple implants, patients are really happy with those because it just holds them in place. But it's still tissue-borne. It still rests mostly on the tissue for that kind of an implant.
And I must say that you do have a lot of patience with your patients. You are very gentle and you're very caring, even when your mouth is full of cotton and you're like, are you okay? Are you okay? Or you ask a question, yeah, how am I going to answer?
You try, and I understand. They don't talk with people with a lot of stuff in their mouths.
You just got to get those headsets so you get rid of that drill sound.
Yes, well, a lot of patients bring their own, well, now because everybody has iPhones and iPods and everything, they just put that, whatever they want to listen to, books on tape, they listen to music, and I tell them, turn it up as loud as you want, I'll listen to it.
And just do your own thing.
That's right. Just phase out.
Really, you have to. I mean, especially if you're going to be there for the whole day.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, you want your patient to be relaxed because you need to be relaxed.
Right.
Because I'm sure there's some high-strung people out there that just do not want to go in to see any dentist.
That's for sure. And so we're very caring. There's no doubt about it.
Do you want to share any last-minute advice to my seniors and with their teeth issue? And
sure. Anyone that's suffering from wearing dentures and is having a very difficult time, you don't have to suffer anymore. There are a lot of things that can be done. From implants to partials to single teeth, we can really replace teeth now, and there's more innovative things coming down the pike all the time. If you've been told you couldn't have implants before, there are some new implants now that are very viable and go into different parts, not just the jawbone. And so there's some amazing things that are coming for people who even have been told they can't do this type of thing.
That's good. Well, Dr. Matt, thank you so much for joining me this month. And I thank you for sharing your time with us on Golden Years. And we'll see you next month.